Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm so excited to see you all again. Today, I'm by myself. I don't have any coaches with me today, but I want to talk about something that we all feel like sometimes we let ourselves down. And the word that I want to talk about is commitment. Now, this is big for me as a person myself, as well as a leader for others for the past almost 6 years, leading other people to start their business and lead their lives, as well as working with students and families over 25 years. The commitment has been a big word in my life, in leading, living, and even learning. Commitment. Now, we all think commitment is a discipline, but I wanted to share with you something deeper that could help you maybe see commitment from another perspective. Now, before we get started, those of you who know me, I like to start by bringing myself here and now. Same for you. If you ever caught in this cycle or your loop, our loop of going to the past and thinking about the past, have you been thinking about the past? I have a little bit today. Every day is different, right? Some days we think about our past a little bit more than the other days. Today I did too. Now, because I talk to my brain all the time, I'm able to bring myself back to here and now. Now, what's wrong with, you might be thinking, what's wrong with thinking about the past? What's going on? Why can't I think about the past? Of course, we can think about the past. But the thing is, only place that I can do anything about anything that's happening or to move any momentum to happen, I have to be here and now. You agree, right? Only in this space can I create anything. I can move, I can make something happen. In my past, I can only think about it. Now, thinking about good memories, that's great. It's going to give you great feeling, right? That's great. It's beautiful. But unfortunately, we don't think about the good stuff. What do we normally think about? And you got to be honest, right? When I'm talking about this, we all have to be honest. What do we normally think about? We think about, I should have done this. Why didn't I do this? How come it happened this way? Why me? Why did they do it to me? How could they do to me? Why is it happening to me? Right? All these things, all of them are replaying something that you are beating yourself up, yourself, or you're beating up somebody else that could have done, should have done, and expecting that they should have done something. But it all happened though. That's the thing with the past. It's over. You can't go back and change any of that. None of us can, right? So why do we do it? Why does our brain take us there? Some of you might have this in the middle of the night. You wake up at 3 a.m., 2 a.m., thinking about something from the past, and you're like, why am I thinking about this? I was sleeping. Why did you wake me up? That's because your brain is processing and it wants to talk about it, something that you probably don't even want to think about it because you want to sleep. So the brain has the capacity to pull us wherever it wants to. But guess what? You have the control to pull it back to here and now, because in this moment is the only moment we can create anything. You can create anything, I can create anything, right? So therefore, we have to teach who is the boss here. Your brain is not the boss. My brain is not the boss. I own it, and it needs to be disciplined by me by talking to it. That's why I love talking to my brain. So if you're in the past so much, you're not going to change it. It's like reading the same chapter again and again and again. How many times are we going to read it? What are we going to do with that information, reading it again and again? We need to move on. We need to write new chapters in our life. We need to live new things. We need to create new things. So why not take the lessons? Because anytime we are saying to ourselves, I should have done this, I could have done this, why didn't I do this? Why did they do this? Why not take the lesson from it so that we can implement it in this moment? Because this moment is guaranteed for you and I, right? So that is letting go the past and just take the real jewels from it, the lessons, and bring it to now and here. Another place, I don't know about you, myself, I like to go to the future. We all like to go to the future, right? We want to set intention. We want to know what's going to happen in the future. Am I going to be successful? Am I going to have a good relationship? Is my child going to be okay? Are my students going to be okay? Is my job going to be secure? Is this economy going to turn around? Is what's happening in the world going to stop? Are we going to get back to normal? All these things we want to know in the future. But unfortunately, we don't have the capacity to plan the future. We could only set some intentions for the future, but we can cannot keep designing a future that's not in our hands. Nobody in this world has the ability to do that. Only we can set intention. So what can we do with this future pacing with our brain? If it starts future pacing and always keep you looping in that future moment, it also doesn't allow you to be here and now. If you think about it, if I'm in the future planning so much, I'm not here. And most of the time when we start planning, guess what our brain also does? It wants to protect us. Our brain's job is to protect us as any moment of our life. So what it's going to do is it's going to project the past and tell us, you remember it happened to you that way before, so be careful when you plan it this way. So not only we're planning something that's not in our hand, we're also projecting the past onto it, and we're planning it. So do you see how much time is wasted? Your brain is not going to be able to do the past and the future and be here and now to do things that needs to get done. So if you ever felt like you were falling out of your commitment, or if you ever catch yourself saying, I'm not disciplined enough to follow through, guess what? It's because your brain might be in the past, your brain might be pulling you in the future, except it doesn't allow you to be here and now. Only in this moment is where I can create change. You can create change. So what can I do with the future? I just need to bless it. It's available to all of us. It's coming. So why don't we just bless it and release it so that we don't have to focus on it? And we can tell our brain to let that go. Let the past go, release the future. Can you come back to here and now? Can you bring all your focus now? And then if you start disciplining your brain and making this type of conversation with your brain, you'll be always in this moment here and now. And in this moment is where we can all learn. Even adults, we're always learning. We're never going to stop learning until we stop living. So then this is the place we can live. We can do anything in our life in this moment. Any other moment, forget it. And also, what about leading? You might think, I'm not a leader. You are a leader. You lead yourself. You lead others in your life that you care. So you are a leader. So if you're not here and now, you're not leading. Even if you're leading, you might not be fully present when you're leading. That's another thing, right? Being here and now is all about being present, because how many of us feel like we're always somewhere else except in this moment? It's so hard to be in this moment. Why? Because of our brain. It pulls us all over the place except this moment in this place right here. So by bringing your hands together like this, it really helps you to bring all of that magnetic energies around us into closure so that you can bring a centering feeling to you and your heart. So from this place, now we can move forward with whatever we need to do. So what else does could help us besides talking to our brain and doing this, bringing our hands together? What else can help us is breathing. I know every one of us breathe all the time, otherwise I won't be talking right now. But I'm talking about those deep breaths. I'm talking about those intentional breathing where you set intention for every seconds of it, so that it goes deep into your body, so that it goes all over your body. Also, it also allows you to release anything that you tend to store up in here. Like sometimes, we get so busy, we walk basically up with this, shoulders up in our ears. So we want to release that, and we want to get back to the normal posture. So what can I do? Breathe. So let's do 3 rounds of this breathing so that you can become present with me today. So inhale for 4. Hold for 4. And then exhale for 8 through your mouth. And when you do it, I want you to let go everything, your stress in here, in your shoulders, in your back. Everything has to go through your mouth. At the bottom, hold for 4. Perfect. Let's inhale for 4. Lots of air. It's the one that's in abundance, right? So let's take that in and then hold for 4. Now I want you to remember, everything in your body has to go. Your body is not a storage place. It doesn't get to storage everything that you need to storage. That's not belongs in your body. So let it go. Like all the way out. I'm not kidding. It's going to help you. And then at the bottom, hold for 4. And then inhale for 4. This is one thing that we all have that's been given to us, the air. So take it in and hold for 4. Now let go for 8. Don't hold anything. You don't need to hold any stress. You don't need to hold any fear. You don't need to hold any anxiety. Just let it go. Release it so that it's not in your body trapped. And then hold at the bottom for 4. Perfect. Now I want you to check. How do you feel? Don't you feel relaxed? Don't you feel peace? That's what this type of breathing does. Now, does the numbers matter? Do I have to hold for 8? If I can't, some of us cannot hold our breath for 8. Some of us cannot release it for 8. Some of us cannot inhale for 4. It doesn't matter about the count. It's not about being perfect. It's about being intentional and being present, and then feeling how that breath goes into your body and feeling how much you can get out of your body and just release it into the atmosphere. That's what most important here. Not about did I do the counting? That's just being perfect, right? No one's perfect. Nobody has to be perfect. This is not a perfect thing to do. It's a thing that brings you back to this moment. So it needs to be just done according to how you feel. So today, what did I say? I want to talk about commitment. Now, everybody thinks commitment is a discipline. We talked about discipline actually on the last episode. So commitment isn't a discipline, it's a system. We are a biological system. We're a living system. We have systems working together to meet, to be here like this in front of you today. For you to be here listening to me today, everything has to be in alignment and working together. So it's not discipline that makes us stay committed to something. It's our system. If they are ready, then they can then you can have the commitment, right? So most people don't struggle with commitment. It's not the commitment that we're struggling with. They struggle with the system when isn't ready. When your system is not ready, when your body is not ready, when you start committing to things, when it's just not activated in an alignment in activation, and you start committing to things, then the systems were not ready, so it becomes a struggle. So what do we do when we start feeling that way? We push harder, we try to be more disciplined, we tell ourselves that we do need to do better, right? We become like our parents or someone who has the authority to tell ourselves, so you need to get this under control, right? And then nothing happens. Then we wonder like what's going on, and then we say we don't, is it a motivation problem? Is it me? Is it just me? Like everyone else seems to be fine, right? So after leading myself over the years and thousands of people, what I know now is that it's the readiness issue, right? It's internal readiness issue. It's nothing to do with you setting a goal or you pushing harder or staying so motivated. It's nothing to do with any of that. The problem is if the systems are not ready, if they're not in alignment, forget it. Commitment is not going to happen. So commitment is not something you or I choose. It's something the systems allows. If these systems are in alignment, it's going to allow me to stay committed, right? So if you keep breaking commitments, it's not that you don't care. It's because something underneath you is not ready. So I used to make commitment. Like how many of us made commitment to go to the gym? It's one of the popular examples, right? I'm going to go back to that. So how many of us have done that over the years? And how many of us always say in December of every year, oh, I'm going to do this next year. I'm going to be like this. I'm going to get up and do this and that. And then before February, everything falls apart, right? We feel like I didn't keep my promises to myself even. So why is that falling apart? Not because you don't care. Obviously you care, I care, right? That's why we set those goals. That's why I don't even like the SMART goal. I've never followed that because every time I set up a SMART goal, it seemed like on the paper, it seemed perfect. But when I started to implement it, it fell apart very, very quickly. So I don't do that. I do intent goal setting, which I created myself, and that works beautifully for me. But most importantly, before even we set any type of goals, that's why intention is better than goals. But before we set any goals, we have to ask, are the systems underneath this body, underneath this human soul, are they ready? Are they in alignment? Are they activated? If we don't have answers to those, then we set any type of intention or goal, anything, we're going to not be able to stay committed. So people can stay consistent. What happens? You start something, then you stop, restart, and then what happens? After, it becomes a loop, right? and you try again, and it happens again. You start, you stop, you restart. And we do this with, it could be exercise, it could be diet, it could be something that you want to stop doing or you want to start doing. All of these things, we have these loops that we create, and then we wonder, why am I doing these loops? And then sometimes we're not even aware of those loops, right? Sometimes we ignore it, or we sometimes we're in denial that we even have these loops. So before anything can happen, awareness is number one. Before anything can happen, one must be aware of what's happening, what loops and patterns are controlling their life. That's the first step. In our readiness OS, that is the first step. Awareness is number one before anything else. But here we are. So we're talking about consistency and commitment. So when you can't stay committed to something, you're not consistent. You start, you stop, you start. So there's a loop. You fail, and then you ask yourself what's going on. If you become aware, if you're not aware, you're just going to continue looping in the same way, right? So when we do this, what is the next step we do when we can't stay committed? What is the next logical step everybody does, even including myself and including the thousands of people I've helped? What would they do? They would probably push harder, or they would be told to push harder by others who are helping them. They would add more rules because, of course, you can't stay committed. So let's add more boundaries here and rules here so that you stay committed, right? And then they would try to get more discipline. We talked about it yesterday. Discipline is also something that is we arrive at. It's something it's a byproduct of all the systems being in alignment again. So discipline is not something you can just get to either. It's not a starting point, it's the end result of something else has to happen. So it's also associated with all your systems as well. But that's what we do. We say, let's get more disciplined because we're missing the discipline here. So then if we do all of that and it's still not working for us, what do we start doing? We start calling ourselves, or others starts calling us, we're lazy. Now comes the label, right? Now comes the name stating, and then now this becomes the identity. Afterwards, it will be an identity loop. So laziness or lack of commitment. You just lack commitment. I can't trust you, right? There's no follow through. You don't follow through on anything. So then we lose trust. People will lose trust on us, right? If we don't follow through on things, we can't stay committed. So we've been measuring commitment at the behavioral level, at the surface level, right? Because it's an output. I'm not seeing commitment as an output. So that must mean that there's something about you that's not matching. So you can't stay committed. So you're lazy, you're not following through, you lack commitment, you can't trust you, all of these things output as a behavior, and that's how we measure it. But we don't think about it as the source, right? We don't think of it as a source. Commitment doesn't live in the willpower, it lives in the systems. If the systems inside this body is in alignment, if I could activate them, I will stay committed to my output that I need to be. That is how I become committed to whatever I need to get done. So if the systems are not, then we have a problem internally. There's a source to this problem, but we just look at it from the surface as you're this, you're that, you can't do this more. Can you do more discipline? But none of this work. We all know none of this work because we are in a loop. So when the nervous system isn't safe, when the energy is low, when the protection is active, the brain is not choosing inconsistency, it's protecting. A lot of the time, when our systems goes off is when it's in protection mode. That's number one, because our body and our brain, what does it want to do? It wants to always protect us. So if it's not doing what you're asking it to do, a lot of the time it's under some stress, and that stress is causing it to feel like it's not safe. So it means that I need to protect. When I'm protecting myself internally, I'm not going to be disciplined. I'm not going to be committed to things because I am not ready, because I have other business to take care of for this body, right? So when this body is feeling that stress, it's not going to be going, okay, let's stay committed to whatever I have to do, right? So what looks like to many people in this whole world, everybody reads this as they're not committed. It's not committed. They're not committed, right? But it's not ready. Your system is not your body and your system is not committed, it's not ready. It's doing some other job that it's focusing on right now, and you're commanding it to something else, and it's overriding it. So what do we need to do? We need to stop treating it at the behavior level. We need to look at it as blocks. Where are the blocks in these systems that is stopping us? So I always said we are so caught up in the surface, and we want to talk about this from the behavior standpoint. We have talked about this behavior standpoint even for adults, right? This is how you behave, this is how you do things. Even if we don't use the word behavior, this is how you are, that's behavior, right? Basically you're saying that's how you are means that's how you behave. So young kids in the school system, behavior is everything. We focus on behavior 24/7 in the school system. Now, is it working? When we focus on behavior, are we getting to the root cause of it? No. We're trying to read the behavior, and a lot of the time behavior looks like I don't care, you don't care, you're not. Sometimes in education it's like you don't want to do this, you're lazy, you're not trying hard enough, you don't have discipline, all of these things. And then also sometimes it goes also, some of the behaviors also goes into respect. You don't respect what we're asking you to do, or you don't respect us even. So disrespect is another part of behavior. So when we are caught up in that, we're not looking beyond those behaviors to the root cause of it. At the system level, if we start shifting our focus to the system level, we don't need to look at behavior. We have to look at the blocks. That shift alone makes you so compassionate for yourself and for the others that you lead. You're not behaving, you're not disrespecting, you're blocked. And I want to know why and how are you blocked and where are you blocked. See, then the automatic thing after that is curiosity, right? Like it's almost instant, that curiosity, like where are they blocked? Because if somebody's blocked and suffering in any way, and they're displaying behavior as the result of it, don't we want it to be so compassion to find out where they're blocked? Wouldn't that be a way better lens to look through than this is behavior? Right? Like when it behavior, we all don't have compassion. We get impatient. We want this behavior to stop. But if we think of it as a signal and go deeper and say, you know what, they are blocked. I wonder what is blocking them. Then curiosity returns. And then when curiosity returns, you get creative to figure out and solve the root causes of it. This is exactly how I created Blocks to Flow, and Readiness OS was born because of my curiosity with each of my clients. I wanted to know what's going on. Why are they not committed? Why don't they have discipline? Not you are not disciplined because you're lazy, but why are you not disciplined? What is going on internally? So when you become like that, you're like a detective, you're like a scientist who's looking for evidence to figure out what is stopping them, rather than, oh, it's just behavior. You just behave like this. And then you get angry, right? Behavior makes you angry. Behavior makes you stop. Behavior makes you shut down. As a person who's helping someone, if I just look at it from the behavior lens, I just shut down because there's nothing else I can do about the behavior. I just need to ask them to stop that behavior. Try doing that. I'm sure some of you, if you try doing that, the behavior never stops. The behavior escalates. You can't tell somebody when they're doing something to stop it, right? It doesn't make sense. But if you start looking at it from the compassion side, it changes. The energy shifts, and the person we're helping really sees that we're trying to help them. And that shift is where a beautiful relationship between the coachee and the coach begins. And that's where transformations can happen. That's the energy that makes the transformation happen. So going back to, so we don't just start with discipline, we start asking different questions. When we get to that compassion side, we can start from curiosity. We can ask, is the system regulated? Is it being protected? Is this person in protection mode? Is there enough energy in this body? Is there any energy that's not there for them to not stay committed, right? Is this environment they're in supporting them? Because we are part of a big environment. Every variable in this environment can affect us at any time, and every variable matters to us. And we just think like we're fine. We'll just be fine. No, we're always being bombarded with so many different variables that affect us in so many different ways. Same goes to other people. So you see how compassionate you can get when you start looking at the blocked blocked level. Gives you so much compassion and curiosity. Now then we can look at the behavior. What is being protected to display this behavior? Why is this behavior being shown? Where is the protection? What is the protection that's happening? So by asking these questions, what happens? We can coach somebody. We can coach someone to figure out where their blocks are. Because when they become aware of where the blocks are or block is, then we can restore that. We can really work through those blocks to release those blocks, dissolve those blocks so that they can start moving in the right direction. And then that's how we can get to the commitment, to stay commitment. That's how someone becomes disciplined, because that's the end result, is when the system is in alignment and when the systems are in activation. When we can activate them, then comes acceleration, and that point is where flow and focus returns. And then that's where we can begin to be committed to something. That's where discipline shows up as a byproduct. Right? So when readiness is restored, because readiness meaning readiness of these systems are restored, commitment doesn't feel like forced anymore. We're not forcing commitment. It becomes natural. It becomes stable and consistent, and commitment becomes like without pressure, because otherwise we're just pressuring to figure out, how do I get to be committed? How do I get to be committed? How do I get my consistency? It's pressure. Pressure doesn't last, right? Pressure puts us in a different energy level. It doesn't last longer. So if you keep telling yourself, I just need to be more committed, you might be solving the wrong problem. Because commitment isn't something you build, it's something your system reveals. So when these systems are, this body is in alignment and in activation, it reveals commitment. That's how we get to be committed to our whatever actions we want in our life, so we can stay committed. So something that I wanted to say is, with exercises and with taking care of ourselves, loving ourselves, these are some of the things that almost all of us have hard time as adults too. And with young kids, it's about their homework, staying committed to their commitment to their homework, schoolwork, or their extracurricular activities, or what they desire to get done. And sometimes they fall short and they're not getting there. So we say, are you lazy? Why aren't you getting it? You need more discipline. You're not listening, all these things. And we tell ourselves too. But all of this is not happening, as I said, because we're blocked, the systems are blocked, and we don't ask from the system perspective, curiosity questions. We ask from outside perspective. When the behavior shows up, we ask questions from outside. So that's why I always say you have to build from inside out. Everything is inside, comes out as results, which we are talking about, commitment and discipline. So don't worry if you're beating yourself about, I didn't get up at 6 a.m. to work out. Don't worry about it. Because if you keep worrying about it and telling yourself, you know how much of a failure I am because I didn't do that. You know, I set so many goals beginning of this year. Now I haven't done anything. Half of it is not even done. I'm not committed. I don't have discipline. Don't beat yourself up. Look inward. Look inside. Are you home? Are you in this home, in your home? Not in your physical home, in this body. There is a home for all of us. Because of our busyness, because of our life, how we have evolved, and how our education system has trained us and conditioned us, and how our society has conditioned us, all of us are always pretty much out in this space. We leave our home. And then we leave this soul empty. So when we get to come here, by looking at it from the system perspective, everything will shift. And then that's where you can really find the answers to why you're not committed. It always has a deeper meaning. Your commitment always is attached to something else. Your discipline is always attached to something else with a greater meaning. And when you can find that and when you can unblock it, you will be committed. You will be disciplined because these are all byproduct of that alignment and activation. So that's what I want to share with all of you today. And if this is something like you want to work on, you want to figure out where your blocks are, if you feel like this is so woo woo, I'm not sure what she's talking about. It is not woo woo. It's actually based, neuroscience based, and biology, because we are made out of so many systems. This is a biologically living system. We have so many things working for us to keep us like this, right? As a person functioning in this world. So why don't we ask the real questions instead of just looking at what's being output from it and reading it as if that's who we are? Why are we reading from the output? Why don't we look at what's happening inside? It makes sense. It's scientific. So let's start being scientific about our body because we are a living thing, right? Awesome. So if something is speaking to you, send me a DM. If this makes sense, send me a DM. If you have anything other than that, you want to ask me or ask a question, or you have another perspective on this, please share with me because we all can learn from each other always, right? So send me anything. So until tomorrow, think about how you are reacting to how commitment in your life looks like, how disciplined you are in your life. Think about all of those things. And have you been analyzing from the external outputs, or have you been going inward and checking out if you have any blocks that could be associated with how committed you are and how disciplined you are? That's your challenge for today. Think about it, and I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me. This is very important to stop blaming ourselves from the output and start looking inward so that we stop blaming ourselves. There's no point in blaming ourselves continuously or others that we take care of and say you lack discipline or you're lazy, because there's nothing to do with that. It's more of internal work that has to happen. It's the internal alignment that's going to bring us the commitment and discipline. So why not go inward? That's the challenge. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.